Don't worry about me, I'ma be alright. Got G-O-D all over my life. Don't worry where I've been, what I did, how I came up. Every saint was a sinner till they changed. Don't worry about me.
Hi, my name is Kesa. I'm 54 and I'm starting from scratch. In today's episode, I want to address me starting from scratch. Why am I starting from scratch? How did it come about? And so if you stay tuned, you'll get to find out what exactly happened, when it happened, and how it happened. Now, before we continue on in this video, I want to let you know that you need to go back and watch episode 1 and 2 so that you can follow along as the episodes progress. All right? Now, what am I starting from scratch from? I had 2 jobs. For the last 10 years, I worked as an insurance agent, territorial manager for an insurance company in California. And for 10 years, I've been an agent. I would go out, write policies. I would set up appointments to do policy reviews, collect payments, and all the above. Listen, insurance agents have a hard job, especially when they're old school and they believe that door to door is the same as 30 years ago. It is not. It is a lot more dangerous, and it got to be a little bit more eerie after COVID. All right, needless to say, I worked for this company for 10 years, but things really started taking a turn in the year 2023. And I think it was at the end of 2023. And that's when we were introduced to new management. And the management that came in was not for the people. They came in aggressive. They came in angrily. They came in bombarding, narcissistic, manipulative, causing division, trying to scatter the sheep, if you will. If you understand that term, then you know what I'm talking about. Coming in not to build us up, but to tear us down. Not to give a solution, but to become a problem. So as a result, many people started leaving, and then other people got sick and they passed away because there was too much stress. They came in debasing the management. They didn't come in trying to figure out, well, what are the problems? They weren't there to problem solve, y'all. They weren't there for that. They were there to dismantle and to destroy, to wipe out any person that they felt would resist them. That's how it was. It doesn't matter if you were telling the truth. It doesn't matter if everything that you said had merit to it. They didn't want to hear it because it was their way or the highway. All right. So 2 of my very good friends and co-workers passed away in 2024. And I mean, guys, it was 6 months apart. The job stressed them out. Plus they had other issues going on. And as y'all know, that if you are already sick, you really do not need to be working for a company that's going to cause you to be stressed out, because the stress is going to amplify what's going on with you. And I just want to put that out there to you. So, but in the midst of that, my mother fell ill. My mother started getting sick around, I want to say, June. And something was going on and she really wasn't saying much. And then I had to pry. And I had to get more involved with my mom. Now, I knew something was going on because my mom would go to every engagement that I ever did. Like when I had a preaching engagement, when I had a singing engagement, or I had, business engagement, selling my jewelry, my mother was always there supporting me. My mother was my biggest supporter. She was my biggest fan, y'all. So what wind up happening is that she got sick. We start going to the appointments. I wound up talking with her doctor and getting a what is called a partial FMLA. So it's a partial family medical leave. It means that you don't take the full FMLA off, meaning that you just don't work at all, but you can take time off for the appointments. You can take time off for flare-ups or when they got sick or anything. It doesn't really matter. You were designated a certain amount of time to take off. Well, when the person in charge got word that I was going to take this off, they became very angry. And they became very angry because they could no longer control or force me to come to these meetings that were not productive at all. In every meeting, the person would have nothing positive to say. It was always something negative. It was always something about somebody wasn't doing this and somebody wasn't doing that. Even if you proved them wrong, he didn't care. They didn't care. So ultimately, the goal was to drive out the older people that were working there. That was the goal. Because if you have people in there that you cannot control, they intimidated you. They intimidate you essentially. So let me say this. I know for a fact that I intimidated them because I'm no nonsense. I don't play games with people. I'm not there to play games with you. Let's have a dialogue. Of course, I'm going to respect you as the lead, the manager, but I expect you to give me the same respect in turn. I'm going to talk to you and I'm going to tell you, here are some of the things that I'm experiencing. And, you know, as a lead or a manager, it is your job to help provide a solution to whatever's going on. That's leadership to me. Leadership is not stepping on somebody and belittling them. So essentially, people were dying. People took off for medical leave. And people were walking away from the job. What was the final straw that broke the camel's back? The final straw was in the latter part of December. My mother was getting sicker. We thought she was going to recover. My mother decided that she just was tired. So I want to say maybe 2 weeks before she died, I had a conversation with one of the managers there about a schedule. And the schedule was to go and ride and go to the client's house because, again, it's door-to-door service, y'all. You know, it's in-person sales. So they want you to set up these appointments with your clients and to go over their policies and then try to sell them another policy as if the clients wanted another policy. But that's another story for another time. Basically what wound up happening, I told the manager, I said, hey, you know what? Can we forego me riding with you in January? I said, my mom is sick. And I believe, I want to say it was January 2nd. And then the other thing was, the person couldn't wait to call me on what they think was my day back. Now, my vacation, I had went on vacation. I'm skipping something. If I'm skipping around, guys, I'm just recalling everything that happened. So please forgive me for that. So I had went on vacation in December. And so I was spending time with my mom. And then as of January 2nd, that was my last day off. I wasn't to return until January 3rd. I get this call from the manager talking about welcome back. I said, welcome back for what? Well, you know, you returned to work today. Who does that? I said, no, I'm not supposed to return until January 3rd. Well, no, that's not what it says. It said January 2nd. I said, no, it was from December 24th to the 2nd or whatever it was, because I was on vacation for 2 weeks. That was one thing that really started to bug me and irritate me. So then I think it was around January 3rd and 4th. There were things that were going on with my mom. We had to place her in a rehabilitation center because we were trying to prep her so she can go and get some treatment done. And I'll go into that later, or what my mom passed away about later on. I just want to talk to you about what the events led up to me starting from scratch. So ultimately, what led up to me saying I had enough is when I told them I cannot ride with you in January because my mother is sick. I cannot ride with you. I could still collect the book. I could still write the business because I was. And then I hadn't wrote anything for 2 weeks because I was off. And so, but I had wrote a whole bunch of business before I left. That's how we got paid, y'all, by commission. And everything was commission, collections, all of that. Okay, let me fast forward. Ultimately, HR was called. Instead of them trying to work it out with me, they decided to call HR, and HR decided to call me. And I guess, I don't know when they called HR, but they called HR, and HR called me the day after my mother had passed. When I tell you I was livid, I was livid. You knew that my mother was dying. I told you she was on hospice, and you didn't care. So the woman from HR says, well, you know, this is so-and-so. We talked before, and she was going through her little spiel. And before she can get started, telling me, well, you know, you can't do that. That's not how FMLA. She felt like it was her duty and whatever, because she had something against me too, because there was another incident prior to that had to be resolved. So she didn't like me, didn't know me, didn't like me, don't care. But I told her, I said, you know what? This is not the time. I said, my mother just passed away, and she freaked out because they omitted telling her that my mother had passed away. So now she's looking like a fool calling me. I'm so sorry. Do your managers know? I said, yes, they do know. And she's thinking in the back of her mind, well, why didn't anybody tell her? Well, guess what? She backed off because now this is a possible lawsuit now that they've gotten her into. And I knew within my heart of hearts, guys, it was going to get worse after my mother had passed away. They weren't going to let me grieve. They weren't going to help me process everything that was going on. I was suffering from burnout, PTSD. I was up at the hospital. I was working the 2 jobs. I had to take off partially from one job and the other job as well to take care of my mother. I had to put a camera in the house to watch my mother at nighttime. And then if my mother couldn't get back into bed, I would have to get across the bridge from where I am to get to my mother. And I said, there's a decision I need to make, because I'm not going to let you kill me. This is what I'm starting from scratch from. I had to ultimately decide me or them. And guys, I'm trying to say this delicately because I don't want to make this an emotional video. But that was a rough season. And I knew in order for me to be able to heal, I was going to have to leave the job. So I also wind up having to move because now I have to decide whether I want to keep my childhood home or I want to continue to rent. Well, you do the math, or not the math, or you make it make sense. Do you keep paying rent, or you come to a house and you pay your mortgage? Which one would you choose? So I'm literally having to start from scratch, moving, bringing me and my animals, and moving my entire life from the East Bay back into the San Francisco Bay. To start all over. Not only am I starting all over financially, I'm starting all over in a brand new environment, in a house. I had to do renovations here. Everything is brand new, new beginnings. That is my story, y'all. That is the reason why I'm starting from scratch and what I'm starting from scratch from. I want to leave by sharing this with you all. If a job is stressing you out, it is a toxic work environment, leave it. And I know that you might be afraid to leave because maybe this is your only source of income. Maybe you're on your own. You don't have a spouse. You don't have a support system. And maybe you are your own support system. If you don't take care of you, you won't even be here to worry about a job. I want to leave with this thought. Sometimes you have to choose which would be more miserable. You can always get another job, but you can't get another life. Hear me and hear me again. You can always get another job, but you can't get another life. Don't allow people to steal your joy. Don't allow them to crush you and to make you feel like you're less than. And if it's a relationship or if it's a job, or I don't care what it is, if you got to start over from a new job to new friends or whatever you need to start over from, do it. Be encouraged. I'm Kesa. I'm 54 and I'm starting from scratch.
Don't worry about me, I'ma be alright. Got G.O.D. all over my life. Don't worry where I've been, what I did, how I came up. Everything was a sinner till they changed. Don't worry about me.